a discussion with Jeff Gamet about smart assistants on the Mac Show on the British Tech Network. This is Mac Voices. Today's Mac Voices is supported by MacVoices After Dark. What happens before the show starts and after we sign off? Informative, fun, and completely off-script conversations. That's what. MacVoices After Dark is an exclusive benefit for our Patreon subscribers. Sign up now at patreon.com/MacVoices. Welcome to Mac Voices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, before we get to this, I wanted to introduce this show a little bit differently. This is a redistribution of an episode of the Mac Show on the British Tech Network. Jeff Gamet and I were the only two who didn't have schedule conflicts that day, and so it ended up being just a one-on-one discussion about several topics. We start out with smart assistants, the state of smart assistants, and what we use them for and what we think they could do better. Before we get to it, though, I want to say a big thanks to Ewan Rankin of the British Tech Network for allowing the redistribution of the show. Check out all the shows that they offer at BritishTechNetwork.com. Let's get to it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mac Show. I'm Jeff Gamet. I'm your interim host, sitting in for Ewan Rankin. And this week, we've been doing our shows where it's like one-on-one shows, which is kind of fun to do every now and then. So yesterday on the big show, it was Ian Grant and me. And today, here on the Mac Show, it's Chuck Joyner and me. Chuck, how are you doing?
I'm great, Jeff. And yeah, you're right. Sometimes these intimate little shows are fun because we only distract ourselves. We don't get distracted by our co-hosts or our co-panelists.
Yeah, this is the cross I bear.
Yeah, I'm not pointing any fingers. I'm just saying.
Oh, you don't have to point any fingers. We all know exactly who's being referenced here. Me. Me. Excuse me. There was something caught in my throat.
Sure there was.
Yeah. So, all right. So we're starting the show later than usual because we had a rash of technical issues. And when I say we, I do mean me, because we're at the point where I'm wishing that I had waited to install macOS Tall Trees, because I've started having a series of small issues that become annoying problems, and sometimes a small issue becomes like a showstopper. Like today, before starting the show, all of the audio that was coming in for our stream was going out to the live stream duplicated and off by a fraction of a second. So you would hear everything with this horrible echo, almost like we were stuttering the whole time. So I had to sort that out, and I'm certain that's macOS Tall Trees problem. But anyhow, we finally get through all that, and then go ahead, Chuck.
Well, Jeff, something just occurred to me that didn't occur to me while we were troubleshooting the problem. Have you installed the 15.0.1 update?
No, I'm doing that after the show.
Okay. And believe me, I mean, that's the last thing you want to do before a live show, because just, I guess, earlier this week, I was using a video conferencing program, and I got an update that, I noticed there's an update available. And I had 10 minutes to install it. And it's like, yeah, what could go wrong? Well, guess what?
Yeah.
So you should never do this until like right before you go to bed, and let it fix itself overnight. But I don't know if that might solve your Tall Trees problem or not.
It might. We'll know before too long, because I'll have other shows over the next few days, and if this intermittent problem continues, then it wasn't the update. So, but anyhow, we get that sorted out, and I won't even go into the other rando problems that started cropping up for me while we were trying to sort that out. but we get through all that, and then it's just about time to start, and every Echo device in my place just goes off. So for a moment, it sounds like either a surprise attack by a Klingon raiding force, and the computer just put me at red alert, or I'm in a casino, and turns out all it was a commercial from Amazon to let me know that there's a lower price on a product that I might be interested in. I don't know what the product is yet because I haven't actually checked the message, but there we go. And Chuck, you pointed out this is what we have to deal with when we're using non-S-Lady devices.
Yeah, Jeff, and it's funny. Just that incident made me think about all the what seemed to be like regular notifications by the A lady, and some of them, some of them are like weather alerts because I do have those turned on because I figure it's given the state of the climate
Of everything.
I can never have too many weather alerts.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't know who's going to get there first, but if a tornado is coming or something, I want to know. But also the reminders that are based on things that I've purchased, and it may be time to buy again, or we found something we think you might be interested in. I get the emails for that. Occasionally, though, I get the A lady notifications as well.
Mm-hmm.
What I wouldn't mind as much is if the A lady, and honestly, until we had this discussion, I hadn't even thought about it, but if the A lady would look at my wish list and she would notify me there if there are any deals on the things that are in the wish list. But instead, I get notifications of things that either it's an alternative to something I've already bought, or it's very, 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 very loosely related to something that maybe I've looked for. And so this is a whole different kind of spam, trying to get me to buy things from Amazon. I buy plenty from Amazon. I don't need to buy any more. But it never really occurred to me to think of it in exactly those terms. But yeah, it is spam that I do not get with the S lady, and I do not own the G lady, so I can't comment on that. But yeah, it's something that we, when you're making these choices, say what you will about the S lady's reliability, but she has not spammed me yet.
I have not had any spam from come out of my HomePod or via S Lady on my iPhone or Apple Watch. I do consider a lot of the push notifications that apps give me on my iPhone as spam, but because they're not telling me information that I want, they're like reminders to come use the app. They are notifications that there's some cool new thing happening with the app. It's messages, or they are messages that are designed to get me to engage with an app, not to provide me useful information. So I consider those push notifications spam. But you're right on the S lady in general. We're not getting spam. And here, okay, Chuck, here's the weird part where I'm going to pseudo defend Amazon. The purpose of a HomePod, for example, the S lady, is to be a voice assistant, a tool. The purpose of the A lady and the associated Echo devices or Echo compatible devices is to be a selling tool for Amazon. They have completely different use cases from the manufacturer standpoint versus the end user standpoint. From our perspective, we want to be able to talk like Captain Kirk, and then have the computer perform a function for us. from Amazon's standpoint, they want us to buy things, buy more things, and this is a tool to help drive up sales. For Apple, the purpose is to give us that voice assistant more like Captain Kirk has. And so while we look at all of these messages that we get on our Echo devices as spam, from Amazon's perspective, these are just commercials that are supplementing the super low price of their devices.
And that's a really interesting way to look at it, Jeff, especially the idea that they support the A lady, just similar to the way that an interstitial commercial supports one of the streaming services that you don't pay for.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, and you and I know what the A lady's purpose is, but it's not marketed that way. It's marketed to be a competitor, more of a competitor to the S lady.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I think, set my expectations. If you told me that in order to continue, and we've had conversations about how there are rumors out there that Amazon may be bringing out a pay-for version of the A lady who is supposed to be more intelligent and be able to do more.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's I might pay for that, but I'll tell you what, if I pay for it, and I mean, assuming that she delivers, I'm not going. I darn well better not get an additional supporting advertisements, or I would be very upset.
Get ready to flip tables, Chuck.
Well, that's quite possible. That's quite possible. So, again, set the expectations. That this hiding the agendas it makes me a little crazy. I get it that I'm the product in a lot of cases, but if you just tell me that, I mean, and as much as I'm not a big fan of GDPR, the idea that it's required us to, or give us the option to turn off at least some of those things is a benefit.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to go back and ask you about one thing though that you mentioned about the notifications you get from apps.
Mm-hmm.
Are those apps you have notifications turned on for?
Yes.
Okay, so you could turn those off. You are in control of that.
I'm in control of that. The problem is you don't have the granular control of being able to say, show me only notifications that relate to the actual app usage versus show me all the notifications the app wants to share with me.
Right. And so you have a choice to make. But at least you have the control. With the A lady, no matter how many times I tell her not to tell me something, and don't give me shopping ideas or recommendations, even the suggestions laced with profanity, she doesn't listen.
I always listen when you use profanity.
Well, I try to.
Oh, Chuck's flipping tables.
Yeah. I try to avoid that, but once in a while, if she announces something to me that I'm in the middle of something else, something slips. Yeah, and it's like, and she doesn't even have the good sense to have her feelings hurt. She just marches right on.
It's amazing to see, because Chuck is the nicest, sweetest man in the world, and all of a sudden he hulks on us and he flips the table and he goes, "Gosh darn it, that heckin' A lady!" And we're all like, "Oh,
yeah,
language."
Well, it's all that gamma radiation coming from the 3 Mile Island restart that Microsoft is funding. That's what's doing it, Jeff.
That totally makes sense. And I know we shouldn't make you angry. We wouldn't like you when you're angry.
Angry, yes.
Well, Chuck, there's a whole thing with the design philosophy for these devices. When you go and look at all the settings for your HomePod, what do those settings include? And And we both know the answer to that. It's it's all the settings for functionality for the device. When you go and look at all of the settings for your Echo smart speaker, or like the Echo Show that's sitting here on my desk, you do have device functionality settings, but then you have all of these advertising settings as well. And in the case of my Echo Show, I have to periodically go in and look at the settings because they're always adding new settings in the other content, like the advertising related content. And so I'm always having to go in and turn off additional things because they're coming up with new wording to cover different types of advertising or um, related content. And even still, there's no way to disable everything. So my Echo Show sitting here on my desk, most of the time it shows me what I want. Periodically, it shows me ads for content where I just simply cannot make those ads go away. And then it goes back to its normal thing. So it'll be things like here's this third-party sponsored app that you can install on your Echo and play some rando data collection game. Or there's a new sports ball thing happening, and so we're showing you an ad of the players in their costumes out on the field, and things like that. But you never have something like that with your HomePod because that's not the purpose of the device.
And so as you were speaking, it's like, yeah, I should open up the Alexa app and see. Sorry, the AOAD app. Sorry about that. And yeah, it's kind of crazy, everything that's in here. I haven't looked for a while. I'm going to have to go in here and play with it a little bit more. But I will defend. I'll defend Amazon just this much, that it's trying to find. Everybody's trying to find that balance between ease of use and, to go back to your term with the app notifications, granularity. And so trying to make a logical tree menu to drop down to get to what you want is increasingly challenging as more services and more options become available. And so, is what I'm looking at great? That's really not. But I'd have to spend some serious time trying to figure out what the best way is. I'm hoping, as we have to some degree with Apple right now in our iPhones, that as we continue to get the smart assistants, that we will, excuse me, that we will be able to ask the smart assistant, where do I find this setting, or how do I get you to tell me about my wish list, A-Lady, and not anything else?
See, that would be really useful. You're not going to be buying as much through those suggestions. And I would posit that this is working well for Amazon, or well enough for them to keep doing it, even though you and I are less likely to buy something from the random alert you get, where, like, a couple days ago, my Echo asked me if I was interested in buying an ebook that was marked down to $3, and from an author that I had previously purchased books. That was a horrible sentence.
Well, I know what you meant.
Wow, sorry about that. Anyhow, and I get things like that all the time. And so of course I said no, and then went on with my life. The other side of it, though, is that part of it works for me. because there's so many things that I buy now that my local grocery stores have stopped carrying or have raised their prices so high that it doesn't make sense for me to buy from my local store. And it's not like a little local independent grocery store. We're talking here's King Supers, but it's part of Kroger. And and like the shampoo that I buy, it was the same price on Amazon and at the grocery store. And then the grocery store raised the price $7.
Oh,
I know. And I was sure it was a typo on the website. I went into the store. Nope, that's what they're charging now. Like insane amount of money for a bottle of shampoo. I shouldn't have to pay that much more just because I don't want perfume in my shampoo. But anyhow, so I switched to buying it from Amazon all the time. Now, because I've bought it multiple times from Amazon and it knows that pattern, when I'm close to time to needing to buy a new bottle of shampoo, my Echo reminds me, the A lady reminds me, and asks if I want to put that in my cart, and other things that I buy on a regular basis, like other toiletry things. It will ask me when it's about time for me to reorder if I want to add that to my cart. That is convenient, and there have been several times where I have said yes. And I fear this means that I am actually a typical consumer then.
I'm shocked, Jeff. I'm shocked beyond words. There's nothing about you that is typical, but that's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah, that's a totally different show right there. Yeah.
Okay, so that's really interesting. And so because well, all right. So when you were telling that story, I'm thinking about something that my great-great-grandfather said, because it couldn't have been me because I'm not that old.
No, you're
but
a wee pup.
do you remember CompuServe, or have you heard about CompuServe?
I remember CompuServe.
Okay.
Yeah, that's from back in the days when we would use dial-up modems. Ask your parents, kids,
Yes,
or maybe you have
exactly.
to ask your grandparents.
Yeah,
Yeah,
But
good times.
So CompuServe, you again, for those who don't know, it was like a bulletin board service that you might think of, or a forum now, but it was dead.
Ask your grandparents.
Right. Yeah. Well, I can't come up with any other analogy, Jeff. That you would pay by the hour, and so you were always very cognizant of what you were doing, because every hour you spent on, or a portion of an hour, you got charged for. And so forums, while they were invaluable, and it was wonderful not only to chat with people, but also to get information off of, it cost you money.
Mm-hmm.
Then they introduced a program called CompuServe Navigator. Any chance you remember that?
I'd completely forgotten about that until you mentioned it.
Okay, CompuServe Navigator lets you basically do offline activities, log on, pull down information, and log off. So where before you might have spent 10 minutes on, this way you were spending 2. And then you'd review everything offline and then go back on for responses, and back and forth. And yeah, it's going to save you money, right? I mean, my gosh, because I remember my CompuServe bills were embarrassing at times.
Mm-hmm.
And the Navigator came out, and I thought, fantastic. I'll save a boatload of money. I ended up spending more money. And the reason was because it suddenly made it easier for me to consume things and I wasn't watching the clock now. I was just logging on, pulling things down, and then working with them and going back. I ended up spending more. So the moral of this story is, I'm back to my want list thing. Tell me if I'm interested in something, tell me when there's a price on it that might be appealing to me. Don't tell me about a price on something that I maybe have shown no interest in, or only moderate interest in. Or give me a way to tag those things that I would truly like to monitor for price. Because I'm. It's interesting to hear you say that it works for you, because to me, it just makes
Well,
me.
sometimes it works.
Yeah, yeah, but it turns me off. That okay, I almost don't care what you're recommending. I don't want it until I decide I want it. But
Same.
if I've already decided I want it or I'm interested, yeah, then by all means tell me. And the odds are pretty good that, oh, okay, yeah, I didn't want it at $10, but at $7, it's a deal.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, Chuck, I fully recognize I'm a walking contradiction with this, because I'm with you. I do not want to have a smart speaker, whether it's an Echo or a HomePod or whatever, just randomly saying, hey, there's this deal on this thing. Do you want to buy it? No. Not only do I not want to buy it, I don't want to hear about it. I don't even want to know this product exists. And now you've made me not want to ever buy it ever. And then at the same time, I get the reminder that it's about time for me to buy my shampoo again. Would you like me to add that to your cart? And then I'm like, oh crap, yeah, it is about time. Yes, add that to my cart.
Yep, I know.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're solving anything, but it is interesting for me. You're the last person I would have ever thought that would have accepted those notifications in a positive fashion. And yet they work for you, and there's a great use case. There's a great reason you do.
I accept and appreciate just a very narrow subset of those notifications. But most of the time, oh crap, I did buy a book the other day just because it suggested it. But here's the thing, it's a book that actually is on my wish list, and it's a book that that I have gone and looked at multiple times on Amazon to see if there's a deal on it. And in my defense, it's Kurt Vonnegut's book, Pity the Writer, and it's a book on writing. So at least, hey, at least it's highbrow. And I've just never gotten around to buying it, because like, well, I need to do that, but I don't have time to read it now. And the other day it popped up on the Echo and said that it's been marked down, the ebook version, to $2. Would you like to buy it? And without even thinking, I said yes. And then my Echo says, okay, and it's done. And then it tells me that it's downloading to my Kindle right now. So I go and open up the Kindle, which, by the way, my Kindle. So I bought a Kindle a while ago because I wanted to have something that was basically a disposable ebook reader for some stuff that I was doing, and I put up with the ads. Eventually, I paid to have the ads not on the Kindle, which was great. And then the Kindle stopped charging. So it sat on a shelf for over a year. One day before I threw it away, I decided I'll just plug it in and see what happens. And now it works again. So whatever. But I went and opened up the Kindle. That pissed me off when it decided not to work for over a year. And sure enough, there's that ebook sitting right there that fast. And even though I got totally suckered into being a consumer and buying something that at least it's something I wanted, Amazon turned that into actually a really slick experience, because the whole process from, hey, here's this thing that you've been interested in, and now it's $2. Do you want it? To the point where I'm looking at the cover on a Kindle was 2 minutes, 3 minutes. And I think a big part of that was waiting for the Kindle to wake up and recognize that there's a book waiting for it and start the download.
Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page. And get more out of your Apple tech with MacVoices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.